And for commentary, if you guys aren't watching here, you should be, because that's got the low latency.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Alright, so when we're gonna go live here in a sec, so
Looks like
moving
we
you
are
guys down.
live.
Okay. Alright, are we live?
Looks like we are.
Yep.
Alright, hello everyone. Okay, so before the run begins, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a challenge here. I'm going to donate $3 for every time I fail a digging game attempt, every time I fail a chess game attempt, and every time I get a blue ball in the first Agnum fight. And we're going to explain more about what that is later as we get into the run. So, what should my file name be?
Let's go with Calfire. Do we have room for that? Or CFR?
You use 2 spaces, yeah. Or 2 files.
CFR. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Here we go. Wait, hold on. Give me a moment. Okay, we're good. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright.
Alright. Hello everyone. My name is M2388, and this is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Unfortunately, in terms of hype, the first 11 minutes starts out to be pretty unexciting. But after that, we get to some more interesting parts. But I guess while we're going through that, we can explain some stuff about the run and about the game. So before that, let's go ahead and introduce the commentators here.
I'm Stinger PA.
Hi, I'm King J. I've never actually done a run of this game or even beaten this game, so I'm mainly just here to hopefully be impressed and very confused on what's happening.
And I'm Ninnies. I've done multiple categories, ran this game for about 2 years, and I'm here to help out with anything that M-Chan himself can explain.
Right.
And I'm here against my will.
So our uncle here died, unfortunately. And with his final words, he lets us know that Zelda's our wife. Even though, except that's actually not what he says, but we're gonna pretend that that's true.
Don't worry about it.
And like the good husband we are, we're gonna go ahead and save our wife. So he gives us his sword and shield so that we can use it to kill things. So actually what's happening is a wizard named Aghanim has appeared, and he's taken over Hyrule Castle. He's eliminated the King of Hyrule and has taken control of the soldiers. So now the soldiers are under Aghanim's control, and which is why the soldiers are out to get Link. We're supposed to stay in bed, but screw the rules. Now it's up to us to save Zelda. Basically, Aghanim is trying to gain access to a place called the Golden Land, which is a land where people's wishes will come true. However, it is sealed by 7 sages, and in order to get rid of that seal, Aghanim is trying to get rid of the 7 maidens, and he's been able to do that except for 1 maiden, which is Zelda. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
One thing that M-Chance did there was he skipped the chest that has the blue boomerang in it. That's because for 100%, all we need is the final items in the Y menu, which means we want the red boomerang later. And there's a little known thing about the game where if you get the chest in a bombable hut in the village of outcasts in the Dark World, but you have not collected the blue boomerang, that chest will contain the red boomerang. So we skipped the blue boomerang here, which is a little bit slower initially, but it makes getting the red boomerang much faster later.
Yeah, and there's some parts in the run where not having the boomerang is a little bit awkward, but it's not too much of a time loss. So yeah, the other thing that you're seeing me do is, well, this is one of the first things that Link to the Past runners talk about, is this erratic movement that I'm doing. I'm actually, you can't see it, but I'm actually matching my D-pad, so I want one of you guys to explain what that is.
Yeah,
You
that's
got it.
wall pumping. You want to take this, Nannies?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
So wall pumping is something that runners do in order to increase the amount of frames, basically reset the movement of it whenever Link is moving north or west. When he's moving south or east, if you do any pumping, it actually can work against you because of the amount of frames that Link actually walks, which kind of ruins the whole optimum of pumping. So it's trying to get the reset on that 2-frame movement, which can save, unfortunately, only seconds along the run. But to get like those really nice escape times that we're hoping to get here, that is something that we got to do to cut at least anywhere from about 5 to 6 seconds off of a really good RNG time.
So now we're approaching our first bit of randomness here. So we're gonna be taking Zelda through into the sanctuary. To get to the sanctuary, we're gonna be going through a sewer section. So in the sewer section, there are rats and snakes. Their starting positions are the same, but where they move is random. So it's this next couple minutes here is basically just read and react here. That's basically what most of the speed game is.
Yeah, everything always has its same starting position, but it has several different options of what can happen. You just have to be ready to react to any of them as soon as you get a cue for what's about to happen.
So I have a question actually. Earlier we were talking about the requirements for 100%. Is it just the final upgrades and all the hearts?
Yes. The biggest exception to that. Ooh, this is not good. The biggest exception to that is there's a cave called the Pond of Happiness, which upgrades your bomb and arrow capacity. We don't include that into the 100% run because it adds a ton of rupee grinding. It's like, what, 14,000 rupees total of rupees?
1,400.
1,400, okay. So yeah, it's a lot of rupee grinding that we have to do. And it doesn't really add much to the run, so we just don't include the Pond of Happiness.
Yeah, there is a category now that does include that, but I believe that's being called 101% now.
Yeah.
So it's an even more expansive definition of 100%. But for this, because it's just plain not really that interesting to grind rupees and then sit in the front of a pond for a few minutes, we'll skip that.
So I just picked up the Sanctuary Heart Container. You pick it up now. In most other categories, it is technically faster to skip it, but not recommended because this is a very difficult game, and that Sanctuary Heart Container is not out of the way at all. So you might as well pick it up. So anything that you can get to help save your run, you would definitely want.
I'm guessing that's also because you were like running on 1 heart of health, right?
Yeah. So a bit of a rough start, but we can make it up. So we're supposed to go to Kakariko Village and then make our way here to our first dungeon, Eastern Palace, but it's just way out of the way, and it's not really worth going there with our current equipment right now. So we're just gonna make our way straight to Eastern Palace right now. Also, I'm wiggling my D-pad as I'm going up these stairs. It's a similar concept as pumping, except with stairs, where I'm actually mashing left and right as I'm going up these stairs, and it actually does speed up the climbing a little bit.
Yeah, wall pumping, you don't really notice a whole lot with the speed increase, but stair pumping, another story. You can really see the difference when you are stair pumping versus not. Also, this skeleton room coming up, if you walk in a certain pattern here, the skeletons will also spawn in a certain way, and it allows you to throw these pots and kill them before they're actually spawned.
Yeah, normally there's supposed to be 4 Stalfos in that room, but if you move in a certain way, only 2 of them appear. Sometimes you get 3.
Yeah, if you overlap a couple extra tiles.
So I'm going to pick up these arrows right
That's
here.
how it works.
You don't need these arrows in order to complete the dungeon, but this ensures that I don't have to rely on an arrow drop later on.
Yeah. Theoretically, you don't need that.
Yeah. But just in case.
7.5% of the time, you don't need that.
Alright, so we're about to come up with to our first sequence break. So, you guys want to take it?
Yeah. Coming up is the big key chest, or not? Yeah, the big key chest in Eastern. You need a big key for every single dungeon, or at least almost every single one. And here we're going to take a damage boost into the popo, and then pick up the pot and hit the switch in the anti-fairies end. Otherwise, we would have to kill all of the enemies in this room for the anti-fairies to release the pot. So that saves probably 15-20 seconds of just killing enemies.
Yeah,
It's also important to not throw the pot after you pick it up, and just pick up the pot, get that extra pixel boost, so that way after the iframes kind of drop, you immediately get hit. It'll automatically throw the pot, but that ensures that you actually hit the button.
Now we got
and I did.
And arrows are very powerful and very plentiful throughout the run. So I'll be picking up a lot of arrows throughout this run.
Yeah, especially in the early game, the bow and arrow is going to be used a lot for bosses.
So this room right here is random, and we got a nice pattern.
Nice. And I did mention before that I've never played this game, but I have seen like countless runs from Enchan before, so I kind of know what he's going for.
Okay, so you guys want to take over Armos Knights?
Yeah, are you doing top right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a few different strats for Armos Knights, but the easiest and fastest consistent strat is just going in the top right. You shoot 5 arrows to the right side, and then you move over to the top left and just shoot arrows down. And there's a couple strats that are like a half a second to 1 second faster, but they're significantly more difficult and less consistent.
Yeah, another one that you can commonly do at the beginning of the game is the same strategy that you'll see M-Chan use in Ganon's Tower, jumping way ahead, but we will be fighting Armos Knights again, and you'll see another way that you can take care of Armos Knights similarly in Eastern Palace.
And that right there ends the part of the game that I've actually played through, so the rest here is just common me watching. So
Hey, feel free to ask all the questions you want.
Yeah.
for sure.
So now we got the Pegasus Boots, which you need to beat the first dungeon in order to get the Pegasus Boots, and this allows us to go fast. And not only that, but this actually is the reason why we are playing this, why this game is in Japanese, specifically 1.0. So we can do this little minor time save right here, if I can get it.
Yeah. This is called spin speed. If you're holding a spin and release it and press the A button 1 frame after, you get put into a state where if you step on some stairs, you start moving at dash speed without having to hold the dash button down to start it, and it also lets you move diagonals as well. So it's significantly faster.
It's really great. The only downside to it is that it only lasts on the screen that you're on.
Mm-hmm. And it also goes away if you jump off a ledge or press the dash button again.
So that is the fastest form of movement, though.
Mm-hmm. I think it also goes away if you take damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah, and unfortunately, if you take damage, you still need to hit the A button in order to get the use of your sword back, because he cannot use his sword, and that's something that you often see some of the runners that use input display. You'll see them get into spin speed and then test it by pressing the B button. If they can't slash their sword, you're in it.
Yeah, you're seeing it again here.
Yeah, it actually doesn't save as much time as some people think it does. So like in that screen right there, that only like saves about half a second, but it does add up over the course of the run.
Yeah, every time that you have to do that whole spin, you end up losing a little bit of time. But once we get another equipment, we'll have a much easier time of getting that spin speed.
Water dash? Okay, nope. There's something called water dash. It only loses a very little bit of time. You're just dashing the water. Anytime you're in water, it slows down your movement by just slightly.
Yeah, I think the water fixes your movement to 1 pixel.
Okay, so coming up now is Desert Palace. It's a very straightforward dungeon, but then also a very difficult boss. But this also is where the game really takes advantage of Pegasus boots, because you're going to be dashing a lot throughout this dungeon.
Also, I do see a question about major glitches. This is a no major glitches category.
Yes, so we're not.
So
There's a ton of categories for A Link to the Past. There's as of currently, we've split up major glitches categories and no major glitches categories. This is a no major glitches categories. You will be seeing glitches, but not like major game-breaking ones. There are categories like that, as well as a 100% version that actually uses those type of glitches. This is not one of them. The no major glitches categories are the more competitive categories that people compete on. The run also does not use save and quit, so you can actually save and quit in the run, and then it'll actually spawn you at a different point in the overworld, and it does save time, but it actually takes away like some exciting parts.
Not to mention that you always start back in your house with 3 to 4 hearts, so it makes a lot of different things a lot tougher because you have to. We utilize the sword beams a lot in dungeons to either hit switches, move enemies out of the way. It's very useful for us to keep the sword beams, and not just that, but you know, in later dungeons when monsters are doing 3 to 4 hearts per hit, we kind of want to have all the HP that we can get.
I mashed book right there because it saves frames.
no, it doesn't.
So those are bad jokes.
God. Not supposed to spoil. When he said that, I actually believed him, because, you know, I don't know this.
Yeah, don't
That's what you get for believing him.
bad ideas.
That's what you get for believing the runner.
But I did want to touch really quick on your the glitch explanation. The only thing that I've ever seen that's been relatively close to a major glitch done in a no major glitch category is the bomb jump in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, we'll explain that when we get there.
That was bad luck right there.
Yeah, that Popo was out for you. But
I was trying to set up for a key dash, where Link has 4 pixels of dash animations, and if you hit the key door on like the 4th pixel, you can just dash right through. Otherwise, you would bonk on the door.
yeah,
I like that you reset the Igor to where you started.
Oh yeah, that usually never happens for me.
here's
Okay.
Lambolus. It is one of the most frustrating bosses in the game. All of these movement and jumping patterns that it's doing are random, so it takes a lot of practice to be able to react appropriately to everything it's doing.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody that sat on the screen for 2 hours and tried to see if there was any kind of rhyme or reason to, like a pattern that you could detect, and
No.
there isn't. There's just
No.
you do your best, you react, and then you get through it. What you can do is, if you get good enough, you can notice that there's a little white pixel at the top of the holes where they're emerging, and you can kind of time that right to when you start getting your arrows off, so that way you can get them exactly when they're emerging.
Yeah, so that wasn't a very good fight, but we made it through at least. It is very easy to either save a lot of time or lose a lot of time, depending on how MMOs goes.
Yeah, and 5 arrows afterwards isn't the worst thing in the world, but we'll probably need to find an extra arrow drop somewhere.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me know when I can squeeze in a quick donation.
In just a sec, we're actually going to come up on our next trick exclusive to Japanese 1.0, so I'll let you guys explain what that is.
Yeah, what he's talking about coming up is the fake flippers glitch. If you are 1 pixel away from the edge of a screen and you jump into the water and immediately transition, even if you do not have the flippers, the game will not kick you out in the Japanese 1.0 version. That's been patched in later versions of the game, the Japanese 1.1 and 1.2 in the English version. There was only one English version. But he uses a setup with the bush to line himself up and jump into the water and transition immediately.
Still better than Mutski.
What does Mutski do?
Mutski ran this game at European Speed Assembly 2016, and he actually soft locked on that trick, and he didn't have a backup save file, and he had to resort to the practice hack. Yeah, that's right, Mutski. If you're watching this, I remember that very well.
He's calling
Yeah,
you out.
that's a rough one. If you do get hit when you're in that fake flippers state, it does soft lock the game, so it can be very dangerous.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a reprieve that you get. If you get hit, as long as you don't move, you can still press start or select and save and quit up there. But as soon as you move after you get hit, it's just going to start screen wrapping and things are going to get weird.
So how often is there places that you can soft lock in this run?
That's the only place. Well, actually, there's a few others, but those ones are recoverable. You know, this is the only one where you can legitimately soft lock.
Yeah, NMG, that's really the only spot that you can do. If you're talking major glitches, there is everywhere.
Yeah, and there are some soft locks that you can just get because you're really unlucky. Like if you fall into a pit on the same frame that you die.
Yeah.
But those really shouldn't come up that often.
Yeah, this
Probably won't even happen to most runners.
Uh-oh. Alright, we're about to get a refill soon, so hopefully I can make it through.
Yeah, Troll Mountain strikes again.
Troll Mountain.
I'm not doing good at spin speeds either. Alright, so, oh wait, actually I should not be going for this. Alright, back out.
I was gonna ask how you can tell when you get spin speed, but now I can kind of see it.
You can tell if you can't swing your sword.
Oh, gotcha. I just saw a slight like speed boost when you were walking up, so I kind of saw it.
Alright, so what I was going to do was a new strat that was recently found where you can actually bomb jump out to escape the Spectacle Rock Cave that I entered in order to get a heart piece early, but since that requires intentional damage, I'm not going to do it. So we're just going to go for this. We're going to go for that heart piece after this dungeon. So we're just going to go for the traditional 100% route.
Coming up is the tile room. If you need to go get something to drink, that's a great time. It's also a good time for donations.
Yeah, go ahead and read some now.
Alright. Well, we got a $50 donation from All-in-One Mighty saying, I could not donate during the A Link to the Past run, my favorite Zelda game of all time. This donation goes towards the Mega Man glitchless incentive. Wait,
yes.
Why is Zelda wearing a sword?
We need Mega Man glitchless to happen.
I mean, hey, I'm all for either of the Mega Mans.
Yes, speaking of that poll, which the Mega Man game will be coming up in just a few hours. Currently, Mega Man 2 Normal Zipless is in the lead at about $59.
I'm a fan of Mega Man 2 more, so.
But if you are a bigger fan of Mega Man 1 and you want to see it get in, we could certainly use a donation or two to help get that in the lead again.
I guess any donations that are going towards my choice, put it towards Mega Man 1 glitchless.
Alright.
Alright, I'm gonna be safe in case something happens. I'm gonna hit that switch right there. Alright.
Yeah, that's a good safety switch because it allows you access to some extra hearts on the top floor.
You guys wanna explain bomb jumping?
Oh yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can get about this. The way that M-Chan is doing it right here is one of the faster, safer ways of doing it. If you watch some of the other more like, I guess, riskier runners, what they'll do is they'll actually walk up there and just like get right up to the edge of it and throw the bomb to the left, and they'll just blow them over. That would be the most optimum way to get past it. But it looks a little bit tricky. But what the bomb actually helps with is bonking before the bomb hits you gives you an additional frame or a couple additional frames where you can be away from the hole and still actually make the bomb jump, as opposed to being what we like to refer to as pixel perfect. You've probably heard it in other speedruns before, but pixel perfect is something that is also tossed around for a couple of other tricks.
Mold
Well, that's not
arm.
being nice.
So this is why I hit that switch earlier, so I can actually get those hearts. If I didn't hit that switch, I wouldn't have been able to get those hearts.
So after he got that bomb jump, I noticed that he just ran over a pit. What was that about?
There were star platforms that changes the pits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a mechanic of the dungeon,
Yeah.
where it changes the layout of the floor.
Yeah, you're supposed to use those to get through the dungeon, but we know the dungeon, and we don't need those. The normal way of going about... Okay, hold on. I need to focus this fight. It's not going well. Okay.
Yeah, the problem with
normal way-
Moldorm is that if he falls at all and he has to come back here, it resets the boss's health to full.
Yeah, the normal way of going about with that moon pearl that I just got is you're supposed to go up to the floor before this fight and hit a star platform, and then fall down a pit in a certain way so you can land in front of the chest. But doing that bomb jump saves quite a bit of time. Alright, so now we're gonna go for the heart piece that I was meant to get before I got destroyed by boulders. And I'm not gonna go for the new Spectacle Rock Bomb Jump. You can there's another strat called hovering in order to get that heart piece early on, but that is a hard trick.
Yeah, this is a no hover zone.
Yeah. No hovering today, guys. Hovering is a trick where the game recognizes that you're if you're over a pit, you can only dash for you can only let go of the dash for 1 frame if you're over a pit, something like that.
It's not quite that tight, but it depends on what direction Link is facing and moving. You may have a little bit more leniency towards it, but I mean, it definitely is a really, really, really tight window between when you need to have that A input drop and then come right back in. I've tended to find it harder to hover going south than north.
Okay, so now we're gonna get the Master Sword, which is our first out of our 4 sword upgrades that we're gonna be getting. The Master Sword is going to increase our damage by base 2. So now we're going to be doing 2 damage to all enemies In addition to that, if you have full HP, then you can do something. You can utilize sword beams, which are long-range attacks that always do 1 damage to enemies, which is utilized in various places throughout the run.
That's also why he didn't want to have to do the bomb jump back in Spectacle Rock, so that he could keep sword beams for the segment.
Yeah. So now, we just been informed that Zelda got kidnapped again. So, it is time to rescue her again. So, first, we got a few things that we gotta do. Such as, we're gonna get that mushroom, which is gonna be traded in later on. And then we're just gonna fall down here to get this heart piece. And then now we're gonna go back to Hyrule Castle.
I think this was whenever I tried 100%. I think this was my #1 missed heart piece.
Is it just like really out of the way?
No, it's perfectly in the way, but if you dance in between NMG and 100%, you get so used to just like blasting through that forest that like it's so easy to leave it behind.
Yeah, this is one of those categories where it's like, if you're going to grind this category out, you can't be running other categories, otherwise, like, at the same time, otherwise it'll just mess with your muscle memory. Alright, so now, with the Master Sword, there is a barrier blocking the entrance to the second part of Hyrule Castle. Now we're going to be introduced to Castle Dungeon, which most people refer to as Agnes Tower. Now, this first room right here, there's a few different approaches that you can go about. I'm going to do a strat called Serving of Din Din. It looks like this. And then for this next room right here, there is usually a manipulation strat that you can do in order to manipulate a fairy drop later on in the game. But in 100%, I don't need that, so I just fight those 2 soldiers like that. You guys want to talk
Looks
about
like
that?
Yeah, well, it looks like you're still in the package drop for it. You got the heart there instead of the fairy, so I mean, the chances are that you might still get the fairy drop in here from killing the little mini Helmasaur, but everything's like a 50-50 chance that, like, even if the enemy is guaranteed to drop this, if it's in its particular item drop pack set, it may not do that. And the strat that he did before, it's important to note that you start up at the top of that barrier, so that way they move closer to you faster, and then you get to the door, so that way you want just their feet to touch, and that's when he moved up and released the sword spin.
And you're seeing a common theme to this dungeon is that there's a locked door and you have to either kill enemies or kill an enemy to get a key to pass through.
Yeah, there's a lot of enemies in every room, and they're out to get you. And it makes this dungeon a very hard dungeon to go fast at.
Yeah, the next room that M-Chan's about to go into is also, the strat is dependent on the RNG, and it looks like he's got, oh, you weren't going to go for the boomerang strat?
I don't have the
Yeah,
boomerang.
he doesn't have the boomerang.
That's right. So, once again, I got goofed.
100%. Category where you skip an item so you can get it later.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When you switch in between categories, you get so goofed.
I should have asked this earlier, but like, what deals the most damage? Is it arrows for the most part?
Silver arrows.
With our current equipment, yes. But we want to save our arrows for later stuff right now, which is why I'm not using them. Alright, so, coming up is Aghanim, everybody's favorite boss.
No, it's not.
RNG time.
So, Aghanim has a cycle of 5 attacks. The first attack is a guaranteed energy shot that you can deflect back at him. Is a guaranteed energy shot that you can deflect back at him. Attacks 2 through 4 is an energy shot, or what we call a blue ball, which is a attack that we cannot deflect back. It is just there to waste time. And the 5th attack is a lightning attack, which, well, you just kind of have to sit there and wait for them to choose lightning. The cycle repeats itself after that, after the lightning attack. So, you know, the most common is 3 blue balls. Anything like 2-cycle Aghanim fight is pretty good. Anything 3-cycle is pretty average. Then anything after that is wow.
And that is a 0 blue ball fight.
All right, well, we're still down to $0 so far, so that's good.
Sorry, Calfire.
I demand a recount.
Of course, in this type of run where I'm actually not doing so great right now.
Perfect RNG.
That is linked to the past, though. When you don't want it, you will get the 0 blue balls, and when you need it, you will never see it.
Yeah.
When you need it, you're gonna get 8.
That's the first time I've seen a 0 blue balls fight from M-Chan, so...
It's pretty rare. It's a 1 in 16 chance. So, assuming that you don't miss any of the guaranteed energy shots, the worst they can get is 15 blue balls. And for anybody curious who's ever gotten 15 blue balls, it is Andy from one of the GDQ practice rooms, and Scrivo twice, live on stream, if you ever want to check that out. Legendary Scrivo. My worst is only 12. So
yeah, and there's a whole graph showing the rarity of each of these. You are more likely to get 0 blue balls than you are to get anything over 12.
yeah, basically, and to get a lot of blue balls, you basically just have to lose a ton of coin flips, which is very rare. Alright, so this monkey, his name is Kiki, or Kiki in other versions of the game. He is greedy, and he wants 110 rupees in order for you to enter this first Dark World dungeon, known as Dark Palace. If you don't have... The thing about that is you have to pay him 10 rupees in order for him to follow you. If you get hit, then he runs away, and you have to find him again and pay 10 more rupees because he's greedy. So if you have 110 rupees, it's a little bit scary because sometimes you can get pretty bad enemy patterns and get screwed, and then you just have to find rupees somewhere else, and it's not fun.
I guess this is a good point to start going ahead and explaining the hammer jump that's coming up.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a bomb jump, but it's very much unlike the one that we saw in Tower of Hera. It is a double pixel perfect alignment on the y-axis that is on a limited timer because you have to get in place and place the bomb before a falling bridge falls out from under you. So you're both limited on the pixels that you need to get on, which again is pixel perfect, and then you have to do it very quickly before the bridge falls. You have to get on that alignment, place the bomb, and then get onto another alignment to get pushed over. And you clip through a small railing to get over to the big chest. So let's see if we can get it.
Good? Aww.
I think the bomb placement might have been 1 pixel too high.
Maybe.
That looks better.
Okay, there we go. Thankfully, since I blew the wall up on the first time, I don't have to waste another bomb. And it's actually good that I got that second try because it is okay to lose at least 3 hearts because we're about to get 3 hearts on the way. Anything lower than that is pretty bad. You're gonna lose quite a bit of time because you have to menu a lot because this is where sword beams really comes into play.
Yeah, and you saw he was doing a lot of pause buffers to give himself a chance to check and see if he was on the right pixel.
Yeah, seeing that skip is like really trippy the first time you see it and you haven't like seen a run of this.
So the normal way of going about with that is you have to go across that bridge, go to the right side, go down a dark basement to grab a key. There's a lot of rupees, so which is nice because you actually want to have a lot of rupees coming out of Dark Palace. Then, once you grab that key, you have to go to the left side of the bridge and then go through the dark maze that I got that key from, and then get the hammer, which is about 40 seconds that all that takes. So it saves a significant amount of time in this dungeon. That does mean that I do have to find rupees somewhere else, but that's not a big deal.
Well, it depends on how nice dig and chess game are to you.
Yeah.
It depends on how much you have to worry about those rupees.
Yeah.
Can it be 0-0?
So how tight is the rupee route?
For 100%,
It depends on 100%.
Yeah, I mean there's a couple of extra places that M-Chan can go for some rupees, but other than that, like everything's kind of planned. It's not as tight as the NMG one is. That one is pretty set in stone.
Yeah.
We're coming up on the next boss here with King Helmasaur. The blue mask that he wears requires 17 hammer hits to destroy, and then it's a total of 8 slashes from the Master Sword, or 4 hits from the hammer or Master Sword spin to finish him off.
That was a pretty good fight right there.
I was thinking it's like, what is it, 4 or 5 arrows?
8 arrows.
It's 8. Yeah, it's 8 arrows.
Yeah, it's really wasteful on arrows to try and shoot him down here. You generally would have to go pretty far out of your way to get those arrows back.
So sometimes, because Helmasaur he has like about like a few different things that he can do. Sometimes he can corner you, dash at you, shoot fireballs, and throw his tail. All of his attacks do 200 damage, including himself. So it is very easy to die against Helmasaur. I've lost many runs to Helmasaur. So thankfully that did go well.
Yeah, that boss looked pretty clean from my point of view, at least.
Alright, so now we rescued the maiden. So this is actually where the run starts to get pretty the game starts to get pretty non-linear. After the first Dark World dungeon, it starts to open up so that you're free to explore the Dark World. We're actually not going to go to the second Dark World dungeon, and there is a reason that we're going to explain later. We are going to be doing the Dark World dungeons out of order, with the exception of the third Dark World dungeon being the third Dark World dungeon, and then, of course, 7 and 8. But other than that, every other dungeon besides those, we're going to be doing out of order.
Yeah, this is where we really start getting into a lot of the 100% collection.
Oh yes, so I skipped a lot of items. You want to enter the Dark World as early as possible, because it'll give you access to a ton of things early on. There's a ton of items that I could be getting, that I could have gotten early on, but it's just faster to get them now. So first I'm going to be getting these rupees here, because I will be needing them for the digging game coming up. And then we're going to be getting another heart piece, and then the flute. No, it is not the ocarina, for anybody wondering. So that the ocarina comes in Link's Awakening.
Yep.
So there's actually a cutscene skip that I'm going to be doing. Hopefully I can do it. It is pretty easy to do, but I mean, you can also mess it up as well. So hopefully I can get it.
Yeah, it basically just involves digging up the flute onto the warp tile location and then grabbing it and warping back basically at the same time.
Just like this. So, in any percent, you actually don't do that cutscene skip, and that's because you need to be in the light world. for this run, I need to be in the dark world in order to get into this heart piece I'm about to go for. Well, there's some stuff I need to do in the dark world first, so the skip is more worth it in this category.
How much does that skip save?
Couple seconds.
Yeah, a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Yeah, it's just a few
video game.
seconds.
It is everybody's favorite part of 100%. So the way it works is it is 80 rupees to play the digging game, and you need to, well, the first 25 digs has a 0% chance of getting a heart piece, and then every other dig after that is a 1 out of 32 chance of getting the heart piece. So get your predictions in now on how many digs I'll be getting.
I'm gonna say a good old 5.
5, okay.
And we're predicting how many games he's going to have to play,
Yeah.
not the exact number of digs.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that you got
So-
good luck with the blue balls, so I'm guessing some bad luck here.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go with 4. It's about a minute to retry, I think.
Alright, it's about 40 seconds.
40 seconds.
Alright, so that's the first try down. We're gonna be keeping track of these. So now that's $3 down the drain right there.
And you
Yeah.
said your worst was 32, right?
My worst is 12 digs.
Oh, 12, okay.
The path that he's using to dig this is the best way for him to get not only the most amount of digs in, but also to catch the most amount of rupees that should fall in his way. Unfortunately, the ones that go to the far right of the first couple of digs, if he were to go collect those, it would ruin the amount of digs that he can get in to maximize his percent chance.
I hear a siren. I think the speed.
I hear those too.
Don't worry, you're going to get slowed down by the dig game, so they won't be able to pull you over.
They're like, oh, digging game, move along then.
That's 2.
Oh, man. How unlucky are we gonna get?
Looking pretty strong so far.
I mean, the more unlucky we are, the more
the rupee
money
drop's pretty good so
we get
far.
to.
Yeah, you're getting really nice rupee drops.
Yeah, basically, if you don't get the heart piece, you kind of hope for good rupee luck because you need rupees later on in the round.
Yeah, this is actually a major source of rupees. If you can get good red rupee luck.
That's
Alright,
3.
Yeah, we're at 3.
2 hours later.
This is actually why I set the estimate pretty high.
We have reached our secondary donation goal on dig game alone.
Everybody put your guesses in chat on how many more. Someone says 9.
It's not bad. That's it's 97 or not, $27
I gotta make up for
from
getting
charity.
0 blue balls, so. Okay, there we go. Alright, not bad.
So 3, or was it 4?
I owe $9 because I think
Okay.
3
That
game
was
attempts.
4th attempt.
Yeah, that's
$3.
Hey, so you got that right. So is that considered a good or bad? Like, what's average for that
I mean,
game?
with 0 blue balls, I guess that's okay. But to my standards, it's not that great, but oh.
I'm not sure what actual average is for that game.
It's about 3. So that was a little bit more than average.
Is that like a big reset point?
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is actually the reason why 100% is not a very popular category for A Link to the Past. If you actually look at the
Yeah.
leaderboards, there's not very many runners who run A Link to the Past. Either because it's significantly longer than the traditional 80% run, or because they don't want to deal with digging game and chess game. Like eventually, like runners can get into it, but you know after a while, like your PB times come down to getting good digging game and chess game luck, and it's something that not a lot of people want to grind for.
Yeah, it's really hard to lose a run to RNG after about 35 to 36 minutes into it, and then having to go through all the Light World again. And if you're coming from another category, you're already bored to tears of Light World.
Yeah.
So the reason I actually use the flutes there on the right, or on the left side of that statue, so that this bird can move the screen earlier. And actually, we're gonna use the bird. We're actually going to flutes right away. So this actually gives us 8 warping points that we can flute to. This is a really good way of traveling around the overworld. So I'm going to start off by fluting to the witch's hut right here to transfer my powder to, or my mushrooms so I can get powder. I will hopefully be using it once. Although if things start going rough, then we might use it a little bit more times.
I like that spin speed, by the way.
Yeah.
After handing in the mushroom.
It's a really cool spin speed strat.
Yeah, there's a lot of couple little ledges and stuff like that you can get quick little spin speed off of. Oddly enough, you can even get spin speed off of Blind's house.
Yeah, which we're about to do late, hopefully.
Don't think I knew that one.
So again, you can get all this stuff way early on, but it's just faster to get these now since we're here.
Yeah, you have to come through here eventually, and it's better to do it along the way instead of doing it before Easter.
Yeah, if you're really desperate, each of those 4 chests down there also have 20 rupees in them.
So earlier I did it a few times already, but this right here, what I'm doing is an item dash. If you use an item and dash on the same frame, then you just use the item and dash at the same time. It's really cool. We do this a lot with the hammer. You can do this with any item, but the one doing it with the hammer is used quite a lot throughout the run. Alright, so now's a good time to explain chess game. So, this is another factor of RNG. It's not as bad as digging game, but you can still lose a lot of time if you're really unlucky. So, the chess game, you have to open up 2 chests per game. It's 30 rupees to play, and you get random items in the chess game, with one of them being a heart piece. Obviously, we want the heart piece. So, get your guesses in now. So, it is a 1 in 8 chance for each chest to open up in order to get a heart piece. However, for some reason in this version, they screwed up the coding in that the first chest cannot be a heart piece. So it's just a flat out 1 out of 8 chance. So there's my first attempt right there. I mean, at least we got rupees, but
Isn't like the English or the 1.1 version, doesn't it like fix that? So that way there's like better odds in the English version?
Yeah, so there's, Japanese 1.0 is, of course, the fastest version, but there's the Japanese 1.2 version, where it's more consistent, only because of chess game. Alright, so we're at 3 now, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
This
3.
is 3.
Okay. Yeah, I'm destroying my bank account today.
Hey,
All for a
it
good
could have been
cause.
worse. It could have been worse. You didn't get any blue balls, so.
It's 4.
I mean, we're racking up on the rupees.
Getting rich.
Yeah, at least we got arrows, so that's nice.
That's fine.
I feel like the music for the chess game should sound a little bit less jolly and more like Steal Your Money.
Like every time it's like dun dun dun.
Yeah, or just some kind of like sassy jazz vibe that you hear in casinos. Yo, I just got the Mario Mushroom Hut music from Super Mario 3. I think that would be perfect here.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I have a lot of rupees now, so I can actually do a different route. So depending on how many rupees you can get, you get coming out of chess game, you can either do Thieves Town right away or take a detour, a slight detour to get a different item, which I will be getting after this dungeon. I have the red boomerang, actually, more specifically. So since I have a lot of rupees, I'm just gonna be doing Thieves Town now.
And I think that was it 7th try for her chest?
Yeah, that was 7th try.
7th try?
It was
Okay, so
8 tries, 7 failures before that.
So I owe $18 at the end of this run. Okay.
All for a good cause.
That is all gonna go towards Mega Man Glitchless.
No, we need Mega Man 2.
Speaking of that, we did receive a $20 donation. That no comment from Polymomo Palexi Gel, but it did go to Mega Man 2.
Yes, thank you.
You guys are making me sad.
You guys make me happy.
Okay, this is unfortunate. Okay, so this room is referred to as the Hellway because, as the name implies, it is hell. There's a lot of enemies, there's spikes, they're random. There is a pixel perfect spot that you could be in order to dash all the way through, which is pretty hard to set up. And the thing is that even if you do get the setup, it is random whether or not you're going to make it through.
Let us not forget that RNG is forever constant and against us.
Yes.
So basically, this game is just RNG the game.
Can't believe there's randomness in this game. It all comes down to luck.
Yeah.
So what is the best luck total that anyone's gotten in a run?
People have gotten 0-0-0 on blue balls digging in chess game.
Oh wow, really?
Rather 1-1 for digging in chess.
There's also just been like really amazing pack drops from monsters where as you dash through them, and optimally there's like just a 10 arrow drop in your way.
So I'm actually gonna grab a berry here. This is actually gonna be used as safety for one particular reason. I won't go into until much later. But you know, if something happens, it'll pay off. So we have the maiden here. She tells us that to take her out of the dungeon. The thing is that if you do take her out of the dungeon, she's gonna be like, I don't want to go there. So, you know, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I think you should press select when you get into the light.
I don't know, man.
I second the motion.
Nah, I didn't do it.
Oh well. But this is blind. Blind is actually a fixed pattern as long as you always do the same things and hit them at the same times. So you always know that you're going to be able to hit him the first 3 times for free, and then the second phase he's going to go off to the right side and then back to the left. And then for the 3rd phase, back to the right, to the left. And if you mess up on any of that, good luck. But it's relatively easy once you do figure it out.
Yeah, if you die to blind, then blind will already be spawned as soon as you enter a room. So it actually makes the fight like right off the bat off script. So you have to kind of improvise quite a bit on the replay. You can read stuff if you like.
Well, I really don't have much to read here, but I do like to take this moment to remind everybody of what this marathon is all about. This is the California Fire Relief Marathon 2018, benefiting the California Fire Foundation, a charity that helps support firefighters, the fallen firefighters, and the communities they protect. All of the money raised here today will be going to them. I highly encourage you to give a donation, show your support. We still got a number of great runs coming up after this too, so stick around.
And by the way,
this
that
is the
was
reason-
go ahead.
Okay, so this is the reason why we why we did the fourth dungeon as a second Dark Hole dungeon. The Titan's Mitts opens up even more of the Dark World, so it is definitely worth doing it early. In addition to that, we get to rescue this frog who is blocked by these dark stones that you need the Titan's Mitts to pick up. And so he's actually going to he's one of the dwarves from the swordsman area. And it costs 10 rupees to tell him to temper your sword. And that is what we're going to do. And this is another sword upgrade. So now we can do 3 damage to enemies, which is very significant. In any percent, it is so significant that you also pick this up in any percent. So in the meantime, we can do something else while we're waiting for our sword to be tempered. So now that we delivered the frog back to his place, we get this purple chest right here, which some guy needs that purple chest, so we're gonna deliver it back to him. But first, we are going to fall down this well right here, and we are going to be cursed by this bats right here. He says he's gonna curse us for disturbing his nap. He's going to give us half magic. Now that sounds bad, but actually what that means is that any item that you use that uses up magic gets reduced by half, which is very good.
Yeah, effectively doubles your magic bar, which is really nice.
Now we get this sword. Now we get our tempered sword. Also, one thing that I did get. So I did get the red boomerang earlier. And an interesting thing about the chest that I got the red boomerang from, it's actually normally supposed to be 300 rupees, but since I didn't get the boomerang in Hyrule Castle, it becomes a red boomerang instead. I believe the reason it's like that is because the game does not want you to miss any items, and the fact that you cannot go back to Hyrule Castle at this point, they just give you the red boomerang. And it is faster to get that boomerang than to get the blue boomerang and upgrade it later, because upgrading it does take a very significant amount of time. Okay, so now we're going to approach Skull Woods. And Skull Woods is a very unique dungeon in the fact that a lot of it's based on this dark forest. There's a lot of ways to enter the dungeon, and it is meant to trick the players to get lost in here, but we know the fastest way around it. I'm gonna let you guys explain this first room.
For the mummy room, basically what you're wanting to do is walk in a specific pattern to get the mummies to walk in a specific pattern, and so that they're basically completely away from you the entire time. They hit for 2 hearts each, so you really don't want to run into them or anything.
That was very clean. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, the mummy at the start of the second room was in a little bit of a bad position, but you dealt with it pretty well.
Good news about those mummies is you can boomerang them to stun them if they are getting to be too much of a pain. And sometimes if you get really, really lucky, one of the mummies gets stuck, which is a strategy that we call stuck mummy, very appropriately named, which means that we only ever have to worry about just one of those little guys.
Mm-hmm. And we also saw another bomb jump there. That was identical to the Hera bomb jump, where you place the bomb.
It also loses the least amount of time if you fail it, because you just fall down because you just reset the room, and that's pretty much it compared to falling down a floor.
Yeah, it doesn't have nearly as much of a punishment.
And also, I fell down that pit on purpose so I can use the iframes to go through one of those robots. Sometimes, if you're low on hearts, you won't do it, and then some runners forget that they didn't fall down the pit, and so they lose 2 hearts anyway, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but this is 100% so. don't really have to worry about hearts too much compared to any certain NMG runs.
So the fire rod's very powerful. It destroys these Gyptos in one hit. Unfortunately, though, because of the burn animation, it does take a while for enemies to fully be dead. But it's a very powerful item.
And now we're coming up on Mothula. Mothula can be a very annoying boss because if your attacks hit Mothula into any of the spikes that surround the room and are constantly coming at you, your attack can get negated. That was a very good fight, though. Took a couple hits, but
early
with
on,
as
that
many
was
hearts as you have, you can just tank them.
So there's a version of this game on the Game Boy Advance. Not a lot of people like to talk about it for many reasons, but they actually fixed Mothula in that you can actually set up a quick kill on Mothula in that version, and that if you do a well-timed spin attack, Mothula will run into your spin attack twice, making the fight a 3-second fight. And it makes Mothula very free in that version, but, you know, that we can't do that in this one.
It almost makes me want to play the Game Boy Advance version.
It's
Almost.
great.
Almost.
It's
So,
great.
so what's so bad about that version, though?
The sounds are terrible.
Yeah, it's mainly the audio plus due to the GBA having a smaller screen, it's cut off at the top and bottom.
Yeah,
yeah.
Some areas aren't loaded completely because of the screen being smaller, so it makes some room strategies a little bit different. But other than that, most of what you can do in the GBA are very identical to the SNES run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say play the GBA one if you like the sounds of Ocarina of Time Link mixed with odd button configurations.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That Ropa has a chance of hitting you for like no reason. But
That's on winning the lottery.
Yeah. All right. So Retsa gets our first medallion. It is called Quake. I have never used it, except for the one requirement that is needed for Quake. So I don't really know what it does, to be honest. But we do need it, so yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. The medallion that is the best is Bombos.
Exactly. So now we're going through Zora's River, and for a very good deal of 500 rupees, we're going to be purchasing flippers, or in this version known as finger webs. And it's going to allow us to swim, you know, you can enter this next Dark World dungeon that we're about to approach without the flippers, but you do need it for a later dungeon anyway, so you might as well pick it up now. So we're just gonna go out of our way right here to grab this heart piece, and then we'll be on our way to our next dungeon, which is known as Ice Palace. A lot of people hate this dungeon, but personally, this is my favorite dungeon. It has some pretty cool, casually has some pretty cool puzzles, and the design looks really cool as well. Ooh, that's not good.
Crabs.
It has some pretty cool puzzles, but in a speedrun, there is one, like, it features the biggest sequence break. It is so huge that if you don't get it, you pretty much reset the run. So hopefully we can get it.
Yeah. The Ice Palace bomb jump is pretty similar in difficulty to the hammer jump that we saw in Palace of Darkness. It's got more sets of different pixels you can be on to make the jump work, but they're still fairly precise. The benefit
What? No, go on.
I was just going to say the benefit of the Ice Palace bomb jump over the hammer jump from earlier is that you have unlimited time to set it up. You don't have to worry about a falling bridge underneath you.
Yeah, the one danger about it though is just your resources. If you're low on bombs, the pressure can get on. As well as the worst part about it is just the rotating little fire bar in the center. So if you go a little bit too late, you kind of have to wait for the fire bar to get in a better position, so that way you don't get knocked off as soon as you actually complete your jump.
So here we go.
So does that make this harder or easier than hammer?
Easier, in my opinion.
I would say easier.
Yeah, it's easier. It's a little bit more it's a little bit less stressful, but it at least until you get to your last bomb.
Yeah, if you're on your last bomb, it is pretty stressful because with our current equipment right now, this is the only way of beating the dungeon.
Yeah, the game wants you to have the Cane of Samaria by now.
It's actually the hook shot that it wants you to have.
Yeah, hook
technically
shot.
the Samaria
You have
cane.
to go a bunch of looping around, but you know we skip all that by doing that bomb jump. So that big chest right there contains the item of the dungeon called Blue Mail. You don't need it at all. It is a armor upgrade that prevents damage loss by 25%. But we get an upgraded version of that item later.
Yeah, it's the same deal as the blue boomerang. We were able to skip the blue boomerang because we were able to get the red boomerang later. And so we'll get the red mail and skip the blue mail.
Okay.
I was like, you focused for that one.
Not the most ideal fight, but I mean, at least it didn't go out of hand. The fight gets really scary if you manage to let them escape. And actually, dying in Ice Palace is a huge time loss because trying to make your way back to the boss does not have any mini sequence breaks at all. So you're pretty much doing the entire dungeon all over again if you die. So it's very common in races where if someone dies to Cold Stare, they just forfeit because it's just not worth the hassle of going all the way back to Cold Stare.
This a good one for a quick donation?
Not right now. So coming up is easily the scariest part of 100% as far as dying is concerned. I'm going to be going through a cave called that is full of spikes. And normally you need an item in order to safely cross through the spikes, but with 14 hearts, it is just enough to make it through. Now, once I enter this cave, I'm actually going to call serious time because I'm going to need audio cues in order to go through this cave. Okay, okay. Well, maybe not. Well, I just got to get a heart draw, hopefully.
Hopefully you can get one from the bushes.
Yeah, I'm going to farm the bushes to get one. This is actually where the one fairy that I got comes into play. Most runners would grab this. Okay, all right. We didn't get it. All right, we didn't get the heart drop. So, yeah, you're good to read.
Awesome. Well, I've got a $30 donation from Michael K _ saying 0 blue balls. 3 failed dig attempts, 7 failed chess games, $3 for each. All going to Mega Man 2 Zipless.
You guys are disappointing me here.
Thank you.
With that said, we also received a $100 donation from Saucy Kittles. No donation comment, but that money also went towards Mega Man 2.
Yes. You guys make me proud.
So as you
Thank
saw with the cane of Burna that I just got, as you can see, it makes it just gives you invincibility for with the expense of your magic. So now we're gonna get Ether, which is actually required to enter the next dungeon that we're about to approach to. If I had made it through the Burna Cave, I would have had 1 heart left, and so, you know, it is convenient that we're about to get our next heart piece, which will actually create a new heart container. Okay, so there is one frame where you can dash right in between those sparks and not get hit. I didn't get it, but it looks cool if you can get it.
So is that just a swag strat?
Pretty much.
It's faster, but it's not meaningless or meaningful faster.
Alright, so having full hearts in Misery Mire really helps, especially. So you need a lot of hearts throughout this dungeon because the boss of this dungeon requires a ton of intentional damage. In 100%, since I have a lot of hearts, health management is not as tight, but I would still like to have a lot of hearts.
Yeah, it's really nice that the heart piece routing worked out to give you a refill before here because sword beams are useful for this room.
Yeah, this is Misery Mire. I dislike this dungeon with a passion. There are these enemies called Wizrobes, and they do 4 hearts of damage. And the reason it is like that is because since this is supposed to be the 6th Dark World dungeon, the game expects you to have Blue Mail from Ice Palace, which is the 5th Dark World dungeon. But since I don't have that, that makes the next few segments of the run somewhat scary, but it's not too big of a deal.
So what would you say is like the coolest dungeon to see in a speedrun?
Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, G Tower has the most strats that are used.
If it goes well, then Ganon's Tower is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we'll go more into that later.
I'd also like to throw Ice Palace a mention there, because if you can get a really nice, clean-looking Ice Palace, it's really impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to me, Ice Palace is really cool. Then again, to me, all of this looks cool.
I see what you did there. That sounds cool.
I didn't even mean it.
So earlier, you might have saw that I picked up the rock to enter Dark World Misery Mire in a very semi-arbitrary way, and that actually sets up for a new strat that was recently found. I'm gonna let one of you guys explain what that is.
Yeah, the trick is called Spooky. Basically what he did was after he fluted to Misery Mire, he moved Link in a way that the bird exited the screen at a certain vertical position, and that's what sets a weird bite in the game that allows you to shoot the fire rod, and it has a different hitbox than usual, and it's much larger, and you can hit things, and in this case we're going to use it to hit crystal switches. You can hit them without actually hitting them with the fire rod. So he's going to be using the fire rod on spikes and torches and an anti-fairy.
Hopefully I got that. I don't think I did.
Not sure.
If I did,
You have
I'll
half
just go
magic,
for
so
the
you
strat.
have... Yeah, I'm not sure if
That's
that
not good.
that's it. Oh well. Yeah, when he fired that fire rod shot into the spike, if he had gotten Spooky to work, it would have activated the crystal switch at the top. Even though he clearly did not hit the switch with the fire rod. So he would have also been able to use it to hit this crystal switch from the other room and not had to bomb the wall.
Yeah, that's basically what all that saves, which is about roughly 10-ish seconds.
Yeah, it's about 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's one of the recent significant finds, especially with how optimized these categories are now.
Yeah,
How
I
short
was
ago was that?
found out
And
about 5 months ago.
Yeah, if you think of it like a 10-second save isn't really big in terms of time, for this game, as Enchan said how optimized it is, 10 seconds is huge to find a skip for.
Yeah, this is Vitreous. As you saw, the strat is basically just take a lot of damage in the slime, because that only deals 1 heart of damage, and then gives you a bunch of invincibility frames. So you're able to stack up a lot of sword spins on the eyeballs and knock them out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's actually one of the more scarier fights in an any percent run, especially low percents, where you don't have as much hearts as I do right now. And if you mess up the fight, then you have to find a way to improvise it. In 100%, since I have the Cane of Myrna, if I had messed that up, I could use that as temporary invincibility, so I don't get hit by the eyeballs. All right,
Yeah,
so
I noticed.
coming up, this next heart piece I'm going to be going for requires me to go through a really complicated block puzzle, but I'm going to be skipping that by doing a really hard trick. So hopefully
The hardest trick of all
I can
time.
get it.
Spoiler alert. It's not actually hard.
Okay, I was about to say, I feel like you guys are tricking me again.
Yes, we got
Oh.
the heart piece. All right, let's go.
So if you're moving those blocks and you're using the mirror at the same time, it just makes the blocks disappear.
I got really confused there for a second.
Yeah,
you can't do it in dungeons because it'll take you back to the start of the dungeon, but in just a cave like that, it doesn't have that kind of function.
Yeah, it's and that is 1.0 exclusive. It's kind of crazy how it's like patched in like other versions, because that is a very easy thing to do.
Oh, they patched it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was. Well, how big of a time gap was there between the Japanese and US release?
I don't remember. I know that there's effectively 3 versions out there. There's Japanese 1.0, and then Japanese 1.1 and the US version are roughly the same. I don't know of any differences between those two except for text. And then there's also Japanese 1.2, which I think is roughly equivalent to the PAL version. I could be off on that one. I'm not as familiar with what the PAL version allows for.
Alright, so we're about to see that same trick again here.
I'm
Yeah.
talking version
Got it.
differences, like...
Yeah,
How much-
as with the other cave, there's no warp point back for using the mirror, so you just get to delete a block.
Oh, someone put the dates there in chat.
So it was a solid half a year between the US and Japanese release.
More than enough time for them to realize some mistakes they made and patch them up.
Yep.
So how much time does this like version save overall?
About a minute and a half in text, at least for this category since it's long.
Mhm.
About another minute-ish for like the tricks they can do exclusively to this version. So
Yeah.
roughly about 2.5 minutes.
One thing to point out is the spooky glitch that we were trying to go for in Meyer. That is not a Japanese 1.0 exclusive. That is featured in all versions.
I recently tested it out on an English version, and it actually does work. So.
Yeah, because why in the world would that ever get patched? No, it only took us 25 or whatever years to find it, so.
Yeah. I remember, like, when the strat was first found, I thought I would never, ever want to learn it because it looked pretty daunting to me. But it's actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah, once you understand the execution part of it, it's not too bad, even if it is easy to mess up.
So anyway, we're in Swamp House, which is actually the second Dark World dungeon, and we're doing it now. So it isn't hard in a way that you're gonna die in a die, but it is really hard to go fast at because there's like, you know, you can make movement errors, and then there's random enemy patterns all over the place, and you can lose a lot of time without really knowing it, and it's not that fun to go fast at.
Yeah, I also like to call this the Palace of Losing a Million Hearts, because you just get nicked everywhere.
Is that the official name for it?
It might as well be. I mean, there's a reason this is the hardest dungeon and one-hit KO.
Oh, absolutely. Especially like the room or 2 rooms right before the boss with the water skipper that you can't
I don't know
get
how
past.
to avoid that thing. So yeah, this is nobody's favorite dungeon.
Yeah, but it is a nice breather from all the hard dungeons that we went through.
I will say though, if you are trying to practice movement, you practice Swamp Palace. Swamp Palace has all the different tech that you will need in order to have good movement in all the other dungeons.
If you're low on rupees, all of these pots, these skull pots I'm running past contain blue rupees. But since I have plenty of rupees.
Yeah, M-Chan just needs 100 rupees by the time that he's done with this dungeon.
All you have left to buy is the big bomb, right?
Yes. And that's the last we'll ever need rupees for.
Because chess game gave us way too many.
Uh-huh.
Both chess and game game.
It's kind of nice to know that you have like good backups though, in case they didn't give you that many.
Yeah, there's plenty of backup rupees that are not too far out of the way.
Yeah, for how random the digging and chess games are, you have to have those kind of backups.
Yeah, sometimes it's not good to get good luck on digging game and chess game because you need because you know you might be low on rupees. Those are kind of rare situations.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword if you get the hard on the very first try and you got no rupees at all.
I've definitely had runs where I would get pretty good luck for chess game and digging game, but then not good rupee luck. So it ends up outweighing the time saved I get from first try digging chess. Yeah.
Also, this is the water strider that we were talking about being impossible to avoid. Nice job.
So this is Argus. I will not be doing zero cycle Argus.
Zero cycle Argus is impossible.
It's just a lot of really timed inputs. But like basically trying to get zero cycle Argus is a lot like trying to do 3 things at the same time perfectly.
So is that like sort of a task only sort of thing?
No, it's possible.
Yeah,
it's hard to walk up. You have to walk up, press YA, which is to get in your item dash with the hook shot, and then you have to, as you're moving down and then back, forth, left, and right, you need to continue going Y, in like a specific pattern. Because you have to also be watching Link, and when you see the sword back down a little bit, you need to reshoot your hook shot so that way you don't actually drop the sword.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not only
Yeah,
that, but-
there's just a whole lot to it.
Yeah, not only that, but it can sometimes be random if you get the zero cycle, if you're going for the zero cycle strat, because Argus moves randomly. So he can like just charge at you and making you lose your chance at the zero cycle. So this maiden talks a lot. She spends about 50 seconds telling you about warp portals, which, I mean, at this point, we've been using warp portals. You know, at this point, you're supposed, like, after the first Dark World dungeon, you're going to be exploring the Dark World, and then you just happen to stumble upon Swamp Palace. So, I mean, it makes sense, like, chronologically, but, you know, the dialogue's kind of out of place since... with our current order of dungeons.
Yeah, and we are doing final cleanup on everything outside the dungeons.
Yeah.
Once we get through all this and enter Turtle Rock, I think there will only be one heart piece left.
Two.
Oh, you're right, there is the other one. Almost forgot about it.
So there is an older route that actually does Swamp Palace at an earlier point, so you can do cleanup at an earlier point. It does make the Burna Cave less stressful in that route because one, you'd have more hearts, and the other is because you would have the item needed to get through Spike Cave. But this route is faster. I don't know exactly by how much, but this route is about a couple years old at this point.
This might be a dumb question, but like, how much time is spent just like mashing through text, like sort of downtime?
What do you mean?
Like, just not doing anything except mashing through text like you were before with that maiden?
They range about 40 to 50 seconds. That one was the longest one.
I'd say for the entire run, it's probably around 8 to 10 minutes.
So there's a trick right here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing it. If I had more rupees, I would go for it. It is called bomb duping. So there's a difficult way and an easy way. I mean, the easy way has less chances of failure, but I can mess it up sometimes, and it's just not worth risking, especially when we're near the end of the run. So we're just gonna do the normal strat like this. But you do need the big bomb in order to upgrade our arrows and our sword, and then we'll be very powerful. So this is actually completely optional in an any percent run. Using a particular strat used on the final boss, which it's not faster since we're going to be having silver arrows anyway. Do you have anything you want to say to us, OC?
You guys have been doing a great job. but what I would love to say even more is that we have raised $4,200 over the course of this entire marathon. We are about 7 hours left of this marathon left to go on. So I really hope we can reach that 5K goal, and I can think of all kinds of reasons to celebrate if it happens. So people, despite we're kind of getting towards the end of this marathon, a lot of our incentives have been met, but the biggest incentive is the one that makes the cherry the happiest.
Good speech.
So we got the magic cape, which is the item that I was talking about that is used to get through the Burna Cave safely. it's actually it's a really cool item. It allows you to turn invisible, so you can go through a bunch of different things. In fact, there's a heart piece coming up pretty soon where we will be needing the magic cape. So it's a really cool item. Any more donations?
No new donations at this point. I would love to get some in, hopefully soon, and I would gladly read them off. Do you guys have anything you'd like to wish to say?
I mean, I'm saving my donations for my runs. Like, for things that happen in my runs. But other than that, not really.
I guess I can take this moment to give a nice shout out to somebody who has done us a huge favor over the course of years of this marathon in particular, and that is a person known as Mydax. He's the layout designer for this marathon. He's done all the layouts, and every year he has come back and redesigned them. And I can't thank him enough for that. He's actually really talented, and he is the kind of person that takes commissions. So I definitely recommend him to you guys.
So this heart piece is now access to us. You can actually get this heart piece as soon as you enter the Dark World. Otherwise, we couldn't earlier because the lumberjacks were cutting this tree, and now they're cutting a different tree for some reason.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Alright, so that's about everything. We just need one more item, and then we'll be off to Death Mountain once again. And we're about to get the ice rod. It's somewhat easy to miss because it's just way out of the way. But it's used for, but we do need it for one reason, and because of that one reason, it is a reason to miss it. I have actually lost a PB pace run to forgetting ice rod.
Yeah, I think Sahasra tells you to go check here.
Yeah, something like that. The ice rod's a terrible item. It does not have a good hitbox, unfortunately. Alright, so last chance for boulders. Or dead rocks.
So this is like all cleanup basically now, right?
Well, we're done with our cleanup now, so we're just gonna make our way to our next dungeon.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not the biggest Link to the Past fan, but I have heard the horror stories at Dead Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Dead rocks are the worst.
Yeah, they're really annoying. You cannot... Yeah, as you can see right there, if you hit them, they just turn purple, and then they're just there to get in your way. It sucks. It's a mess.
Yeah, the only way to actually kill them is to use the magic powder and turn them into the little yellow jelly, and then you can actually get rid of them.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, unfortunately in the speedrun that's not optimal. Although if you just are really having a bad day in a lot of runs, you will see a runner actively get rid of some dead rocks in the way.
Alright. Okay, so this is Turtle Rock. A lot of magic usage in this dungeon, but since we have half magic, the magic management is not so bad at all. So I hear stories of a lot of people getting stuck in this room, but you can actually just hook onto the torch right here, and then it'll just take you back right here. So you can do some really cool things in this room with the hook shots, but since we have the magic cape, we just use the magic cape to dash right through this room.
Yeah, it makes the strats a lot simpler here. Uses magic, but we don't care, we have half magic.
good.
What's even crazier is that quarter magic was programmed into the game but never implemented.
Oh, we got the fairy drop anyway. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that I did not do the prize pack manipulation in Castle Dungeon, and if you did it, you would have got a fairy drop in 3 rooms of Turtle Rock, with that room being one of them, and we got it anyway. So worked out.
Yeah, you got lucky. The first blue guard that would have dropped it didn't drop it, and then the mini Helmasaur in the Hema jump room and pod didn't drop it either. So you win today.
Yeah.
Is there like a specific chance for that to happen?
It's a 25%. Is it 25 or 50?
I think it's 50.
I forget.
Yeah, it's 50. Every mob has a 50% chance to draw to further its packet.
Right.
So I'm using the fire rod here. It isn't faster, but it's just easier to deal with those pokies, or Poku Boku as their official name is. And then this next room, there's about 16 different patterns that these 2 Hokubokus can give me, with one of them being the best one. Let's see how this turns out. Okay, that's not ideal. Alright, I'm gonna pick up this magic drop though. Alright, so I'm gonna take a little detour here. You do not take this path. Okay, that is. Yeah, sometimes if you the bomb will just recoil off the wall. Do we know why that happens?
It has something to do with the pot.
I don't think it has to do with the pod. I think it has to do with the distance you are away from the door. And so you turn down just a little bit and spaced yourself a little bit too far away, I guess.
Okay.
If you're a little bit further away, it won't bounce off the wall. If you're a little closer than that, it won't bounce off. But where you were right there, it does.
This is one of the more easier heart pieces to miss, because you wouldn't think to mirror at that spot to get that heart piece. And then we also get the mirror shield here, which is actually our final shield upgrade. There is actually a shield upgrade earlier that we completely skipped, called the red shield, which is used to block fireballs, but it's not that useful, and it's slow to get anyway, so we just skip it because we get the mirror shield anyway. The mirror shield is used to block beams, so it is a pretty powerful shield.
That's kind of cool, like how I just saw you like bonk on purpose to bounce over that flame, or that spike, sorry.
Yeah. Very cool usages of dashing, which is nice.
Yeah, I like that the game kind of emulates a 3D atmosphere, even though it's only a 2D game.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this room coming up, you can do something called laser skip, but since I have the mirror shield, I do not have to do it. And that is the one instance where having the mirror shield is required. Well, supposedly required. But you can just do that.
It's just nice.
Yeah. I wonder how Link can see through this gigantic shield. It blocked his whole face.
Pretty sure he's just stumbling through the rest of the world.
Probably very, very heavy too, considering it's making material.
I mean, it's difficult to try to save the entire world in under 2 hours.
And get everything.
Mm-hmm. Here we have Trinex. This is why we needed the ice rod, was specifically for this boss. But it's pretty simple when you have the gold sword, because it only takes 3 slashes each to kill the side heads. And then this last phase is pretty simple as well if you can set up the double spin from the explosion.
I actually think that this is the first game in the Zelda series that started to mess around with ideas of equipment outside the world that is required to defeat bosses, where normally you usually get the equipment that helps defeat the boss inside the dungeon.
Considering this was the third game in the series, and the previous one before this one was a 2D side-scroller.
No, we don't talk about Zelda 2.
Let's not talk about that one.
I mean, unless we're talking about the music of it, in which case it's just so good.
So
I mean,
we
I've
finally
only-
rescued Zelda, ladies and gentlemen, after so long.
She's been playing too much Candy Crush, she's stuck in there. For me, I've only ever played the 3D Zelda games, so seeing a speedrun of a 2D one is like completely different for me, other than like maybe Link Between Worlds can be categorized as one kind of, but
It's got quasi 3D, but yeah, I get what you mean.
2.5D.
yeah. But other than the first like original Legend of Zelda, I've never beaten any other 2D ones.
We're coming up on the final heart piece here. It's hopefully final heart piece. Let's hope you didn't miss any.
I did not miss any. I saw 3.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had checked at Mimic Cave or not.
He did.
$20 big ones. Well, whenever we get there.
So yeah, the only thing left to collect now is the red mail from the big chest in Ganon's tower.
So I'm going to be focusing a lot throughout this dungeon, because this is a very intense dungeon and there is no downtime whatsoever. So, you know, my commentators are going to be leading you guys through Ganon's tower as I focus.
Yeah, Ganon's tower is simultaneously the longest dungeon as well as the most difficult. There's just a ton of variety and strats that you're going to be seeing M-Chan do throughout this dungeon.
Not to mention a rematch of a couple of bosses that we've seen previously.
Mm-hmm.
So this dungeon is a really big muscle memory dungeon. This is probably the most practiced of any runner, and I'd say it's the hardest to break any bad habits once you've already learned them, just because of how tough it is to like just maintain the muscle memory for these.
You can use the red boomerang, which is technically faster in those couple rooms, but it's very precise to use the red boomerang.
Yeah, the red boomerang travels a lot farther and moves a little bit faster, so it's a little bit tougher to try to get the correct angle.
Yeah, we're coming up to the first boss refight. It's going to be Armos Knights from Eastern Palace, except the floor is going to be ice, which causes a few problems, but is fairly easily worked around.
Yeah, the silver arrows make quick work out of it. The positioning that M-Chan's more likely to take is going to be the same. That's the one I was thinking about where the pot messes up the bomb. That was the room I was trying to remember. But yeah, so the position that M-Chan's taking right now, you can also use this positioning to defeat the ones in Eastern Palace. It's a little bit slower, but it gives you a little bit more time to line it up. Those other two chests in that room are arrows and bombs, should you be low on them, but M-Chan's
One of
gotten
them, I
more than
believe,
enough.
is a map or a compass. It's one of them. But yeah, arrows is one of those chests as well.
I think the compass is on the right side.
Right side. Nasty.
Yeah, we don't go there.
Yeah, we have no need.
Yeah, the right side of Ganon's Tower will lead you to Armos Knights anyway, and it's much harder to go through.
Plus, the right side doesn't even give you hardly enough keys that we need for the remainder of this dungeon.
And there's a wall master and other nasty stuff that we don't want to deal with.
Yeah, we like to avoid wall masters whenever possible.
Just showing off a little bit of the power of the mirror shield here, that it can block the mimics' fireballs, which is really nice.
As well as the power of the silver arrows. Normally those red mimics need 2.
So I'm taking a fall here so I can use iframes to go through this room. There is a way to set it up so you can dash right through without doing that, but I just don't prefer to do it, and it's random whether or not you can get it or not.
I thought it was found to be 100% as long as you can, there's a spot where you can just get lined up with it.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at doing Cannonball Z yet.
Cannonball Z.
That is
Yeah,
what the strat
a
is
lot of
called.
these rooms.
That's perfect. I love that name.
Yeah, a lot of these
Yeah.
rooms
Yep.
have fun little nicknames. That way we can all like
This set of
identify
rooms is
exactly
called
what everybody's
Gauntlet.
talking about.
Yeah, and the reason this area is called the Gauntlet is because you have to kill all of the enemies in 5 consecutive rooms.
Those are the hardest rooms to optimize in this dungeon.
And then it ends
One
up with
cycle, let's
a
go.
land walls refight. Nice job.
Hey, nice.
Silver arrows one-shot each land walls. Which is a lot better than needing 4 arrows each.
You can
Or
also
2
use
fire rod shots.
or 2 ice rod shots, which who would want to do that?
No.
Land molars is a lot. All the light world bosses that we fight in this dungeon have the same amount of HP as when we originally fought them. So the battlefield is different to make it seem like it's harder. So
Yeah, the only addition for land walls is the fireball shooter in the corner,
yeah, but we have the mirror
which
shot.
can be a pain, but
Yeah, the Medusa head is so annoying. The fire rod is really weird in that you can be right up against the torch with the fire rod, but it won't light. You actually need a couple of pixels of distance from the torch in order to light it.
And we're gonna use up our last bomb here. So it looks like we're gonna be having a 99% run.
bombs don't count.
Thankfully.
Yeah, but I like the lead in having all items.
Yeah. And
What
the
is-
final boss refight is Moldorm.
We'll just pretend that you have a bomb. I mean, they're right there on your menu. They say 0-0, but that's clearly a bomb.
So yeah, Moldorm is very easy in this fight. Yeah, you have more room to fight him, so less chances of falling down, which is nice. And then coming up is Aghanim 2. So same deal. The first attack is a guaranteed energy shot, but then every other attack is a 50-50 chance of giving you a blue ball. However, there's these Aghanim clones that are going to. Man, this is not good. There are these Aghanim clones that you can use their energy shots with like the right amount of geometry to deflect back at Aghanim. And again, it takes 6 energy shots to beat him, and this is not good.
Are we counting
Yeah,
these
you
blue
get
balls
quick
too?
maths here.
Are we
I
just
think he needs one more hit.
So we aren't counting these towards the
No.
blue ball count, right? Okay.
Most people usually don't care about the blue balls for Aghanim 2.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they hit you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, nice fight. Which isn't saying much.
Alright, so normally in an any % run there is quite a lot to explain for Ganon, but since we have the gold sword and silver arrows, then this fight's pretty straightforward, but there's still stuff to explain. So I'll let you guys take over that.
Yeah. Ganon goes through 4 phases in this fight. The first 2 phases will require 6 hits each to go through. Nothing past those 6 hits gets counted. So you'll see Mchen do 6 hits here, and then wait for the second cycle to start, which is when Ganon spins his trident.
I like to hit him past the required amount of hits sometimes because it's fun.
Yeah, and sometimes you just want to make sure you didn't miscount.
Yeah.
Ganon's third phase, he stomps the floor and will cause one side of the platform to disappear. So you can actually fall into that hole now if you're really unlucky or bad. And after he finishes the 4th stomp, the torches will go out, and those have to be lit in order to hit Ganon to stun him. But there's a torch glitch where if you relight the left torch before the right one goes out, the right one will never go out, and you will only have to relight the right one. Unfortunately, we missed that.
It's not a big deal.
It
if you have
shouldn't
sword
matter
runs,
because,
but in an
yeah.
80% run, that is really important. But yeah, that's Ganon.
Time is coming up.
And time.
Very nice.
All right, so we got a 153.49, which is about 5-ish minutes, almost 5 minutes off of PB. Considering a rough start, a rough beginning, as well as the RNG, I think that's pretty
Still
good.
a solid run.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost about 3-ish minutes to RNG.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Yeah, anything sub 155 is really good. Is really good. So, because this is a very hard category to grind out. The world record is a 141.37, I believe, by Zelna. So that it's really good. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw in on this run, and you're interested in picking up this game, we have a weekly race every Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So you can always hang around. If you see anybody streaming Link to the Past, then you can always hang around, ask some questions. We have a really cool community, and this is a really cool speed game. I'm really happy that I got to perform this and New Super Luigi U. This is my favorite speed game, so I'm glad that the Cal Fire organizers have let me run this game.
Yeah, it was great having you for both this and Luigi U earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I speak for us commentators to give our inputs, specifically me, because I've actually never sat through a whole run before. I've only seen bits and pieces, so this is a treat.
So yeah, so shoutouts to Timon, who motivated me to take this game pretty seriously, and without his help, I wouldn't be able to be at the level of play that I'm at now. I think that's all that I want to say. Please, we want Mega Man 1 to happen. No Mega Man 2.
Don't do it.
You got at least one donation that is trying to help you in your efforts.
Good.
Yeah, well, I'll read that off real quick. Pokegod offering $5, saying, donating to say, I'm loving this run. I personally experienced this Link in the Past via the GBA version and have a bias for it. This donation goes to Glitchless Mega Man. But we'll save the other donations for the next host and the next game coming up here, folks. Stick around. We got Shantae, Half Genie Hero.
Alright. Stick around, everyone.